The storm hit without warning, typical for Wyoming in early April. One moment, Dr. Marcus Reed was driving through clear skies on his way to the Broken Arrow Ranch for a routine veterinary call. The next, he could barely see the road through sheets of rain mixed with sleet. At 31, Marcus had been a large animal veterinarian for 6 years, serving ranches across 3 counties. He'd grown up in Denver, gone to Colorado State for vet school, and initially planned to work in a comfortable small animal practice in the suburbs. But a summer internship at a rural clinic had changed everything. He discovered he loved the challenge of large animal work, loved the connection with ranchers who depended on him, loved the wide open spaces and honest people. His phone had lost signal 15 minutes ago, and his GPS was useless. The rain was getting worse, visibility dropping to almost nothing. Marcus knew he needed to find shelter and wait out the storm. Through the gray curtain of rain, he spotted a structure, a barn, maybe, or an old ranch building. He pulled off the road, following what looked like it might have once been a driveway. The building materialized slowly, a weathered barn with most of its roof still intact, set back from the main road. Marcus parked as close to the entrance as possible and made a run for it, getting soaked in the few seconds it took to reach the barn door. He pushed it open, stepped inside, and stopped. The barn wasn't abandoned. Dim light filtered through gaps in the walls, illuminating a space that was clearly being used. There was fresh hay, tools that looked recently used, even a small camping stove set up in one corner. And sitting on a hay bale in the back, a guitar in his hands, was a man. He was singing softly, his voice rough but melodic, his fingers moving over the guitar strings with practiced ease. He hadn't heard Marcus enter over the sound of the storm. Marcus stood frozen, not wanting to interrupt, captivated by the scene. The man was probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair that needed a cut, several days of stubble on his strong jaw, and shoulders that suggested hard physical work. He wore worn jeans, scuffed boots, and a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up. There was something deeply lonely about him, the way he sat hunched over the guitar, the melancholy song he was singing, the isolated setting. Marcus must have made a sound because the man's head snapped up. In an instant, he was on his feet, the guitar set aside, his body tense and defensive. "Who the hell are you?" His voice was sharp, but Marcus caught the fear underneath. "This is private property." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. I'm Dr. Marcus Reed. I'm a veterinarian. I was on my way to the Broken Arrow Ranch when the storm hit. I just needed shelter." Marcus held up his hands, showing he wasn't a threat. "I'll leave as soon as it clears up." The man relaxed slightly, though he didn't move closer. "You're Doc Reed. Pete Henderson's been talking about you. Says you saved his prize bull last month." "Guilty as charged," Marcus managed a smile. "And you are?" A long pause. Jackson Wolf." The name meant something, though it took Marcus a moment to place it. Jackson Wolf had been something of a legend in Wyoming ranching circles about a decade ago, a champion bull rider, ranch heir, someone everyone said was destined for greatness. Then he disappeared. Marcus had heard bits of the story over the years, some kind of family tragedy, rumors of scandal, speculation about where he'd gone. And here he was, living in what appeared to be an abandoned barn. "I know who you are," Marcus said carefully. "Or who you were. I've heard the stories." Jackson's expression hardened. "Then you should know I'm not good company. You can wait out the storm, but then you should go." "I'm not here to judge or ask questions." Marcus looked around the barn. "Do you live here?" "That's none of your business." "You're right, it's not, but as a medical professional I'm concerned. This can't be healthy, no insulation, no proper heat, exposed to the elements." Marcus took a tentative step closer. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" "I don't need help from anyone." Jackson's voice was cold, but Marcus saw his hands clench. "Especially not from some city vet who thinks he understands ranch life because he took care of a few cows." The words stung, but Marcus recognized them for what they were, a defense mechanism. This man was hurt, isolated, pushing people away before they could reject him. "You're right," Marcus said evenly. "I don't understand what you're going through, but I do know what it's like to feel alone, to feel like you don't fit anywhere, to build walls to keep people out because it's safer than letting them in." Something flickered in Jackson's dark eyes, surprise, maybe, or recognition. "You don't know anything about me." "No, I don't, but I'd like to." Marcus surprised himself with the words. "I'm stuck here until the storm passes anyway. Maybe we could talk, or not talk if you prefer. I can just sit quietly." Jackson studied him for a long moment. Then slowly, he sat back down on the hay bale. "There's another bale over there if you want to sit, but I'm not making conversation just because you're bored." Marcus grabbed the hay bale and sat down a respectful distance away. They sat in silence, listening to the storm rage outside. Marcus pulled out his phone, still no signal, and resigned himself to waiting. After about 10 minutes, Jackson spoke. "You said you know what it's like to feel alone. What did you mean?" Marcus considered his answer carefully. This felt important, like Jackson was testing him somehow. "I'm gay. Came out when I was 23 during vet school. Some people were fine with it, my family wasn't. My father hasn't spoken to me in 8 years. My mother calls occasionally, but we don't talk about anything real. I have friends, colleagues, a life I've built. But sometimes I still feel profoundly alone, like there's a wall between me and everyone else." He'd never said that out loud before, never admitted how isolating it could be, living as an openly gay man in rural Wyoming. Most people were polite, professional, but there was always that distance, that awareness that he was different, other. Jackson was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was softer. "I'm gay too. That's why I'm here in this barn instead of at the ranch I grew up on. That's why my family won't speak to me, why I lost everything." Marcus's heart ached at the pain in Jackson's voice. "What happened?" "Do you really want to know? It's not a pretty story." "I want to know, if you want to tell me." Jackson took a breath. "I was supposed to take over my family's ranch, the Triple W, 15,000 acres of prime Wyoming grazing land. Fourth-generation wolf to run it. I was training for it my whole life, learning the business, working the land, and I was good at it, really good." He paused, his hands clenching and unclenching. "But I was also lying, pretending to be someone I wasn't. I dated women to keep up appearances. Got engaged to my high school sweetheart because that's what everyone expected, and I was miserable." Marcus wanted to reach out, to offer comfort, but he stayed still, letting Jackson tell his story at his own pace. "Then I met someone. Another ranch hand, guy named David. He was open about being gay, didn't care what people thought. And for the first time in my life I felt seen, understood. We started a relationship in secret. I thought I could keep both lives, the public one as the wolf heir and the private one with David." Jackson's voice grew bitter. "My father found out, caught us together in one of the barns. He went ballistic, said I was a disgrace, that I was destroying the family name, that I'd never inherit anything if I chose that lifestyle. Gave me an ultimatum, end things with David and marry my fiancée, or leave and never come back." "What did you choose?" Marcus asked quietly, though he already knew the answer. "I chose myself. For the first time in my life, I chose to be honest instead of hiding. I called off the engagement, came out to my family, and left with David." Jackson laughed without humor. "Lasted 6 months before David realized I wasn't the wealthy ranch heir he'd thought I was. Just another broke cowboy with no prospects. He left, and I've been on my own ever since." "How long have you been living here?" "About 3 years. I do odd jobs for ranches in the area, fence mending, cattle work, whatever people need. Pay them in cash, stay under the radar. I'm good at what I do, so people hire me even if they know my story. But I'm not welcome at family gatherings or church socials. I exist on the edges." Marcus felt a fierce protectiveness rise in his chest. "That's not living, Jackson. That's just surviving. It's all I've got. Jackson's voice was flat. I made my choice. This is the consequence. It doesn't have to be. Marcus moved closer, closing some of the distance between them. There are people who'd accept you, places where you could build a real life, not just exist. In rural Wyoming, Jackson shook his head. You said it yourself. You feel alone too, even with your career and your life. At least I'm honest about being on the outside. What if you didn't have to be? Jackson looked at him then, really looked at him. Their eyes met and held, and Marcus felt something shift in the air between them. Awareness, attraction, possibility. Why do you care? Jackson asked. You don't know me. You walked in here by accident. After the storm passes, you'll drive away and forget all about the lonely cowboy living in a barn. I don't think I will, Marcus said honestly. Forget about you, I mean. There's something. He struggled for words. When I walked in and saw you sitting there with your guitar, singing in the storm, it felt like the universe was telling me something, like I was supposed to find you. That's crazy. Maybe, but I stopped believing in coincidences a long time ago. Marcus reached out slowly, giving Jackson time to pull away. When he didn't, Marcus took his hand. Let me help you. I have connections, resources. I could help you find better work, better housing. You don't have to live like this. Jackson stared at their joined hands. Why would you do that for a stranger? Because you're not really a stranger. You're someone who made a brave choice and got punished for it. Someone who deserves better than sleeping in a barn and hiding from the world. Marcus squeezed his hand gently. And because when I walked in here and saw you, something in my chest recognized something in yours. Loneliness calling to loneliness, maybe, or something deeper. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside the barn something else was building. A connection, fragile but real, between two men who'd both paid high prices for being themselves. Jackson's thumb moved against Marcus's palm, a tentative gesture of acceptance. I don't even know you. We can change that, starting now, starting with waiting out this storm together. They sat there, hands intertwined, and began to talk. Really talk, in a way Marcus hadn't talked to anyone in years. Jackson told him about growing up on the ranch, about his love for the land and the animals, about the loneliness of living a double life, the relief and terror of finally being honest, about the 3 years since, drifting from job to job, never staying anywhere long enough to form real connections. Marcus told him about vet school, about choosing large animal medicine despite everyone saying it would be harder as a gay man, about the satisfaction of the work and the isolation that came with it, about wanting more from life but not knowing how to get it. By the time the storm finally cleared, they'd been talking for hours. Marcus looked at his watch and swore. He'd completely missed his appointment at the Broken Arrow Ranch. I should go, he said reluctantly. Try to salvage my schedule, but Jackson, can I come back? Can we stay in touch? Jackson hesitated, hope and fear warring on his face. Why would you want to? Because I haven't felt this connected to someone in years, maybe ever. Marcus pulled out a business card and pressed it into Jackson's hand. My cell, my office number, my email. Use any of them. Or if you want, tell me where you'll be and I'll come find you. I'm usually around this area, doing work for various ranches. Jackson pocketed the card carefully like it was precious. But Marcus, don't expect too much. I'm not good at this. Relationships, opening up, trusting people. I'll probably disappoint you. Let me worry about that. Marcus stood, then impulsively leaned down and kissed Jackson's cheek. It was chaste, brief, but the contact sent electricity through him. I'll see you soon, Jackson Wolf. As he drove away, Marcus kept checking his rearview mirror, watching the barn disappear. He'd gone there seeking shelter from a storm and found something else entirely, a connection with a lonely cowboy that felt like it could change everything. He just had to convince Jackson to take a chance on it. 3 days passed before Marcus worked up the courage to go back to the barn. He'd replayed their conversation 100 times, analyzing every word, wondering if he'd imagined the connection between them. Jackson hadn't called or texted, which could mean he wasn't interested or that he was too scared to reach out. Marcus drove to the barn late on a Saturday afternoon, his truck loaded with supplies, a warm sleeping bag, a portable heater, food, a first aid kit. If Jackson was going to insist on living in that barn, at least Marcus could make sure he had what he needed. The barn looked even more weathered in the afternoon light. Marcus parked and approached cautiously, not wanting to startle Jackson if he was there. "Jackson, it's Marcus. Marcus Reed from the storm." Silence. Marcus's heart sank. Maybe Jackson had moved on, found work somewhere else. Then he heard movement from inside. Jackson appeared in the doorway and Marcus felt his breath catch. He looked tired, his clothes dirty from work, but his face lit up when he saw Marcus. "You came back," Jackson sounded surprised. "I thought maybe I'd imagined you, or that you'd changed your mind." "I said I'd come back," Marcus gestured to his truck. "I brought some things, supplies. I figured if you're going to be stubborn about staying here, you should at least be comfortable." Something soft crossed Jackson's face. "You didn't have to do that." "I know I wanted to." Marcus started unloading supplies. "Help me carry this stuff." They worked together to bring everything into the barn. Jackson was quiet, but Marcus caught him looking at the sleeping bag with something like wonder. "When's the last time you had a warm place to sleep?" Marcus asked gently. "I've got blankets," but Jackson's hand lingered on the sleeping bag, betraying his words. "Jackson, you're going to freeze when real winter hits. This barn isn't insulated. You need better shelter." "I'll figure something out." Jackson's voice was defensive. "I always do." Marcus wanted to argue, to insist Jackson come stay with him, but he knew that would just push him away. Instead, he changed tactics. "Have you eaten today?" "I had breakfast." "It's 5 p.m. That's not enough, especially if you've been doing physical labor." Marcus pulled out the sandwiches and fruit he'd brought. "Eat with me." They sat on hay bales, eating in companionable silence. Marcus noticed Jackson devoured his sandwich and most of the fruit, confirming his suspicion that he wasn't eating enough. "So what kind of work are you doing now?" Marcus asked. "Helping the Johnson Ranch with their spring calving. They've got about 200 head dropping calves over the next month. It's good money, and they don't ask questions." "I've worked with the Johnsons. Good people." Marcus hesitated. "Jackson, I've been thinking, I need help at my clinic. Someone to handle the large animals when I get called out. Feed them, clean stalls, basic care. It's not exciting work, but it pays decently and comes with a small apartment above the clinic." Jackson set down his sandwich. "You're offering me a job." "Yes, if you want it." Marcus kept his voice casual, though his heart was racing. "You clearly know animals and ranch work. You need steady income and better housing. It seems like a good fit. Or you feel sorry for me and you're creating a position that doesn't exist." "The position exists. I've been trying to fill it for 6 months. Most people don't want to live above a vet clinic and be on call for emergencies." Marcus met Jackson's eyes. "But yes, I also want to help you. Is that so wrong?" Jackson was quiet for a long time. "What if I screw it up? What if I'm not good enough?" "You will be. You're a natural with animals, I can tell just from how you talk about them. And even if you make mistakes, we'll figure it out together." Marcus reached out and took Jackson's hand. "Let me help you, Jackson, please." "Why?" Jackson's voice was raw. "Why do you care so much about a stranger?" "Because you're not a stranger anymore. Because I haven't stopped thinking about you since I left here 3 days ago. Because walking in on you in this barn felt like fate, and I don't want to waste that." Marcus tightened his grip on Jackson's hand. "And because I'm lonely too, and I think maybe we could be lonely together. Which is better than being lonely alone." Jackson's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I don't know how to do this, how to let someone in." "Neither do I really. We'll figure it out as we go." Marcus brushed his thumb across Jackson's knuckles. What do you say? Want to take a chance on this? On the job. On the job. On us. On the possibility that walking in on a lonely cowboy might change both our lives. Jackson looked at him for a long moment, hope and fear warring on his face. Then slowly he nodded. Okay, yeah, let's try it. Relief and joy flooded through Marcus. Really? Really? But Marcus, I have to tell you something first. Something that might change your mind. Tell me. Jackson took a shaky breath. I'm not good at relationships. My last one ended badly, and before that, I've never really let anyone close. I have trust issues, I push people away, I'm probably going to disappoint you. And I come with baggage, a family that disowned me, a reputation in the ranching community, a lot of scars from years of hiding who I was. I have baggage too, Marcus said. A family that doesn't accept me, my own trust issues, a history of keeping people at arm's length. We're both damaged in our own ways, but maybe that means we'll understand each other better. You're really not going to change your mind. Not a chance. Marcus pulled Jackson to his feet and in a moment of boldness wrapped his arms around him. Jackson stiffened, then slowly relaxed into the embrace. They stood there in the barn, holding each other as the sun set outside. Jackson's body was solid against Marcus's, and he smelled like hay and hard work and something uniquely him. When they finally pulled apart, both men were smiling. When do you want me to start? Jackson asked. Is tomorrow too soon? At Jackson's surprised look, Marcus laughed. I'm kidding, sort of. How about next Monday? That gives you time to finish your commitment to the Johnsons and get your things together. My things consist of what you see here, plus a duffel bag of clothes and my guitar. Then bring all of it. The apartment's small but furnished. And Jackson, bring your guitar. I'd like to hear you play again. Over the next few days, Marcus prepared the apartment above his clinic. It had been sitting empty for months, a small studio with a kitchenette, bathroom, and enough space for a bed and some basic furniture. He cleaned thoroughly, stocked the kitchen with basics, made sure everything worked. Monday morning, Jackson showed up at the clinic at 8 a.m. sharp. He'd cleaned up, shaved, fresh clothes, hair trimmed, and looked both hopeful and terrified. Ready for your first day? Marcus asked. As I'll ever be. Marcus showed him around the clinic. It was a modest operation, exam rooms, a small surgical suite, stalls for housing large animals temporarily, storage for feed and supplies. Jackson took it all in, asking intelligent questions, clearly paying attention. The apartment's through here. Marcus led him up a back staircase. He unlocked the door and gestured Jackson inside. Jackson stepped into the apartment and stopped. Marcus had gone a little overboard, fresh flowers on the table, new towels in the bathroom. A fully stocked pantry. Marcus, Jackson's voice was thick with emotion, this is too much. It's not enough, but it's a start. Marcus set Jackson's duffel bag and guitar case down. Take today to settle in. Tomorrow we'll start training you on the actual work. Jackson turned to face him and Marcus saw tears tracking down his face. Thank you, I can't. He couldn't seem to find words. Marcus crossed the space between them and pulled Jackson into his arms. You don't have to thank me, just be here. That's enough. They stood there holding each other and Marcus felt something slot into place in his chest. This was right. Jackson being here in his life felt like the most natural thing in the world. When they pulled apart, Jackson wiped his eyes. Sorry, I don't usually fall apart like this. Don't apologize for having feelings. Marcus touched his face gently. I want you to feel safe here, Jackson. Safe to be yourself, to show emotion, to ask for help when you need it. This is a new start for both of us. Both of us? Yeah, I've been going through the motions for years, working hard but never really connecting with anyone. Then I walked in on a lonely cowboy in a barn and everything shifted. You changed something for me, Jackson, made me want more from life. Jackson's hand came up to cover Marcus's where it rested on his cheek. "I'm scared of screwing this up, of disappointing you, of letting myself hope and then losing it all again." "I'm scared too, but I think maybe it's worth being scared if it means we get to do this together." They kissed then, properly kissed for the first time. It was soft, tentative, both of them testing the waters. Marcus felt electricity race through him at the contact, and when Jackson made a small sound and pulled him closer, deepening the kiss, Marcus thought his heart might explode from joy. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jackson rested his forehead against Marcus's. "Okay," he breathed. "Okay, we're doing this, you and me." "You and me," Marcus agreed. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." It was a promise and a beginning, all wrapped into one perfect moment. Jackson's first few weeks at the clinic were an adjustment for both of them. He was a quick learner, picking up the routines easily, but Marcus could see him struggling with other things, accepting help, believing he deserved kindness, trusting that this situation wouldn't disappear. "You don't have to work so hard," Marcus said one evening as he found Jackson still cleaning stalls at 8 p.m. "This can wait until morning." "I want to earn my keep." Jackson's voice was tight. "You're already doing so much for me. The least I can do is work hard." "Jackson, you're doing great work, but you're also exhausted." Marcus took the shovel from his hands. "Come on, dinner's ready." Marcus had started cooking for both of them most evenings, and they'd fall into a routine of eating together in Jackson's apartment or Marcus's house next door to the clinic. These meals had become Marcus's favorite part of the day, a chance to talk, to learn about each other, to build the foundation of their relationship. Over dinner that night, Marcus noticed Jackson was quieter than usual. "What's on your mind?" Marcus asked. Jackson pushed food around his plate. "I ran into someone from my old life today, Tom Morrison. He used to work on my family's ranch. He was in town picking up supplies." "What happened?" "He saw me loading feed into your truck, asked if I was working for you now." Jackson's jaw clenched. "He looked at me like I was dirt, said something about how the mighty have fallen, how my father must be rolling in his grave seeing me reduced to manual labor." Marcus felt anger burn in his chest. "Your father's still alive." Figure of speech, but the sentiment's the same. "Everyone knows I'm a disappointment that I threw away my inheritance for," he gestured vaguely. "For this. For being yourself, for choosing honesty over living a lie." Marcus reached across the table and took Jackson's hand. "That's not something to be ashamed of. Tell that to everyone who looks at me like I'm broken." Jackson's voice cracked. "Sometimes I wonder if they're right, if I made the wrong choice, if I should have just married Kelly and pretended to be straight and taken over the ranch like I was supposed to." "Do you really believe that?" Jackson was quiet for a long moment. "No, I couldn't have kept living that lie. It was killing me slowly, but it doesn't make the aftermath any easier." "I know," Marcus squeezed his hand. "I wish I could fix it, make people see you the way I see you, but all I can do is remind you that you made the brave choice, the honest choice, and I'm grateful you did because otherwise we never would have met." "You really mean that? You're grateful for all the mess that brought me to that barn?" "Yes, every bit of it, because it led you to me." Marcus stood and moved around the table, pulling Jackson to his feet and into his arms. "You're not broken, Jackson. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met, and anyone who can't see that isn't worth your time." Jackson buried his face in Marcus's neck. They stood there for a long time, holding each other, and Marcus felt Jackson's tension slowly ease. "Stay with me tonight," Marcus said softly. "Not for anything physical, just stay. I don't want you to be alone." Jackson nodded against his shoulder. They ended up in Marcus's house, in his bed, fully clothed but tangled around each other. They talked until late, about Jackson's childhood on the ranch, about Marcus's path to becoming a vet, about their fears and hopes for the future. I haven't let myself hope for anything in years, Jackson admitted in the darkness. It hurt too much when things fell apart, but being here with you, I'm starting to hope again. And that's terrifying. Hope is scary, Marcus agreed. But it's also necessary. Without hope, we're just going through the motions. What do you hope for us? Marcus thought about it. I hope we keep building this, keep learning about each other, keep choosing each other even when it's hard. I hope that a year from now we're stronger together than we are separately. And I hope that eventually you believe you deserve all the good things I want to give you. Jackson was quiet for so long Marcus thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, I hope for that too. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and when Marcus woke in the morning to find Jackson still there, still real, he felt overwhelming gratitude. They were building something here. Slowly, carefully, but real. The turning point came 2 months after Jackson started working at the clinic. They were treating a difficult calving case at a ranch 40 miles away. The calf was breech, the cow was in distress, and Marcus needed Jackson's help to turn the calf and assist the delivery. I need you to reach in and feel for the calf's legs, Marcus instructed. I'll guide you through it. Jackson hesitated. What if I hurt her? What if I make it worse? You won't, I trust you. Just do exactly what I say. What followed was intense, Marcus guiding Jackson through the process step by step, both of them working together to save the cow and calf. When the calf finally emerged, alive and healthy, and the cow immediately began cleaning it, they both sat back on their heels, exhausted and elated. We did it, Jackson breathed. We actually did it. You did it, Marcus corrected. I just told you what to do. You're the one who had the skill and the guts to follow through. The ranch owner paid them well and made a point of shaking Jackson's hand. Heard you were working with Doc Reed now. Good to have you back in the game. You've got a gift with animals just like your daddy did. After they left, Jackson was quiet during the drive back. Marcus gave him space, sensing he needed time to process. Finally, Jackson spoke. That's the first time in 3 years someone's compared me to my father without it being an insult. He was a good rancher. One of the best, tough but fair. He built the Triple W from near bankruptcy into one of the most successful ranches in Wyoming. Jackson's voice was complicated. I loved him, and I hated disappointing him. That's why I hid who I was for so long. I couldn't stand the thought of losing his respect. Do you think he'd respect what you did today? The ranching work. Yeah, he would have been proud of how I handled that delivery. Jackson's voice grew sad. But he'd still hate that I'm gay, that I'm with you. Some things don't change. Maybe, or maybe time would have softened him. Maybe he would have come around eventually. We'll never know. He refuses to see me or speak to me. Far as he's concerned, I'm dead. Marcus reached over and took Jackson's hand where it rested on his thigh. Their loss, but my gain. When they got back to the clinic, Jackson surprised Marcus by pulling him into a deep, passionate kiss. What was that for? Marcus asked when they finally broke apart. For believing in me, for trusting me with that delivery, for making me feel like I'm good at something again. Jackson's eyes were intense, for seeing me as more than just the screw-up who threw away his inheritance. You're so much more than that, Marcus said fiercely. You're talented, skilled, compassionate. You're everything I could want in a partner. Partner, Jackson's voice was uncertain. Is that what we are? I'd like us to be, if you want that too. Jackson pulled him into another kiss, this one softer, sweeter. Yeah, I want that. That night for the first time they made love. It was slow, tender, both of them taking time to explore and learn each other. When Marcus moved inside Jackson, when they locked eyes and breathed together, Marcus felt his heart crack open in the best way. I love you, he whispered against Jackson's lips. I know it's fast, but I love you. Jackson's eyes filled with tears. I love you too. God, I love you so much it scares me. They made love until they were both exhausted, then lay tangled together in Marcus's bed. Jackson fell asleep with his head on Marcus's chest, and Marcus lay awake for a long time just holding him, feeling grateful for the storm that had led him to that barn, to this man, to this love. 4 months into their relationship, Marcus got a call that would change everything. It was from a ranch on the other side of the county, the Triple W Jackson's family ranch. "We've got a sick bull," the voice on the phone said. "Our regular vet's out of town. Heard you were good with cattle. Can you come out?" Marcus's stomach dropped. Yes, I can be there in an hour." He hung up and went to find Jackson, who was in the barn grooming one of the horses they were boarding. "I just got a call from the Triple W," Marcus said carefully. "They need a vet. I have to go." All color drained from Jackson's face. "My family's ranch." "Yes, I can go alone if you want, or you can come with me." Marcus took Jackson's hands. "Either way, I've got you." Jackson was silent for a long moment, clearly battling with himself. Finally, "I'll come. It's time. I can't hide forever." The drive to the Triple W was tense. Jackson sat rigid in the passenger seat, his hands clenched in his lap. As they pulled up to the main ranch buildings, Marcus saw Jackson's breath catch. "It looks the same," Jackson whispered. "Everything looks exactly the same." A man emerged from the barn, late 60s, weathered with Jackson's eyes and jawline. His father. Robert Wolfe stopped dead when he saw Jackson climb out of the truck. "What the hell is he doing here?" "I work for Dr. Reed," Jackson said, his voice steady despite the tension in his body. "I'm his assistant." "You work for—" Robert looked between them, and Marcus saw the moment understanding dawned. "I see, of course, another man." "Mr. Wolfe," Marcus stepped forward, keeping his voice professional. "I'm here about your sick bull. If you want my help, you'll treat both of us with respect." Robert's jaw clenched, but he nodded curtly. "Bull's in the back."